Hello, everyone. My name is Amal Nergudkar. I'm the CEO of Patient Prism. Delighted to welcome my good friend, Dr. Mark Costas here from the Dental Success Network, Dental Success Institute, and from all the amazingness that he does on a daily basis
Thanks, Amal.
to spread goodness in dentistry, to elevate dentistry to heights that not many people in this world have done. And I am in awe of the person he is as a clinician, as an educator, as a motivator, as a thought leader in our industry. So thank you, Mark, for stopping by.
Well, thanks, man. I'm out of here after that.
That's right. I'm going to drop the mic. That's it.
Thank you, man. That's far too kind. Far too kind.
It is what an event this has been.
Yeah.
Mark was just interviewing the CEO of Henry Schein, Stanley Bergman, and what a great interview that was, wasn't
Well,
it?
thank you. Thank you. Well, Stanley, all you had to do was just give him 2 words and he runs with it. He's an amazing person. He's an amazing human.
It is absolutely, and the work he's done for this industry is just cannot be put into. I don't know any other human that will ever surpass that.
Right. I mean, the fact that Shine has in their CEO somebody that's like a world-class CEO. I mean, it's a $10 billion company,
Right.
but it's still run very, very well because of the leadership, his leadership. He's been there since 1989. It's been a great run, and he's done great things with the company, and he's done great things for dentistry. He really has.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and they continue innovating, right? They continue, adding new products, new companies to their ecosystem.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk any about that, right? What I want to talk about today with you is the questions that DSOs have.
Yeah.
And that's questions that are across dental practices. That coming out of COVID, what are dental practices doing today to really achieve growth that sticks and sustains?
Yeah, first of all, I think you have to, the elephant in the room is the challenges that we're having as a profession right now.
Okay.
Right. I know many, many people, and I have the privilege of being able to speak to thousands of dentists
Right.
on a regular basis.
Sure.
And an underlying theme that everybody is experiencing is great months, some of the best months that they've ever experienced as far as production and collections, et cetera, revenue, top line revenue, and doing it with a skeleton crew.
Right.
Because there is this huge vacuum in the labor force right
Absolutely.
now for many different reasons. I think a lot of it has to do with stimulus money. A lot of it has to do with supercharged unemployment.
Right.
A lot of people have decided that they prefer to work from home. A lot of different reasons that we have this vacuum in the workforce. But what I will say, the good news is most dental offices and owners that I speak to have figured out how to do it with less people. It's uncomfortable, but they've been able to pivot and they've been able to increase their systemization and increase their efficiencies with less people. And that is encouraging to me. Because I think that when the workforce does come back, and if that means that we have to train up a whole new generation from scratch, people that don't want to work in hospitality anymore, people
Right.
that don't want to work in restaurants anymore, and they want a real career, and they come back to dentistry,
Right.
we'll get a new wave of people that are really, really excited about the industry. The fact that they get to work 4 days a week, the fact that they don't have to be standing on their feet all day and all night. I think that we're going to be better off as a profession when that comes back around.
And I'm glad to hear this, but how do we get people excited about our industry? How do we recruit today?
Right.
Like, how do we recruit? It's a challenge. I mean,
Yes, indeed.
we've got DSOs we have a shortage of hygienists, we have a shortage of dental assistants, we have a shortage of front and the back and everybody else.
Right.
Like, how do we get people excited about new people coming in the industry, as well as people that we're trying to recruit coming out of schools? What do we need to do as a profession to get them excited about working in this profession?
It's such a great question, and nobody has asked me that question
Okay.
yet, but I will tell you this. What you see on the forums and what you hear people explaining about why they're not coming back to their dental assisting jobs, they're saying, I can get a job as a dishwasher for $18 an hour right now. Why would I come back and work in a dental office for $16? I think the bottom line is that people will be attracted to dentistry because, in the long term, because when they figure out that working in other industries isn't as rewarding as taking care of people,
Right.
and transforming the health and lives of people isn't as rewarding as working, say, in a retail store necessarily, or
Or washing
waiting
dishes, yeah.
tables or washing dishes. I think people will come back in droves. It's going to take some time, but I think the leaders in dentistry, and that comes down to every single practice owner, it's our responsibility to spread the word about the great things that we do as dental professionals.
And somehow our profession hasn't not done that, right? We absolutely must educate the industry about the importance of what dentistry can do to somebody's life.
Absolutely.
And obviously, we have to bring 50% of people who haven't seen a dentist before in the mix. That's a big challenge.
Yep.
But I mean, you bring up points that, man, if we won't have a shortage of labor if we can only inspire people.
Indeed.
To believe that, man, this is such a noble profession.
It really is.
It changes people's lives on a daily basis.
It is.
And if you have, I mean, at the end of the day, all of us want to do better for somebody else than for us.
Right.
And that's what gives us the most amount of fulfillment.
Right.
What message do you have for the new doctors that are coming in? Because they're coming with a lot of debt, right? A lot of debt out there. They want to obviously be financially independent and make decent money. They've gone through dental school.
Sure.
They want to have a fulfilling career. They want a clinical path of growth as well. What's the advice to these guys? And obviously, there's one choice. Yes, join the DSO industry, and the industry has been fantastic in helping doctors kind of on their path. But what would you tell somebody who's graduating today from dental school to kind of the path of? I mean, you have led more dentists to the path of financial independence than anybody else.
Thank you.
What is that path? What is the course of action they need to take?
Yeah, this is something I'm very, very passionate about. Working with new doctors, I'll tell you this. I've been doing this for 20 years, and never have the stakes been higher for a generation of new dentists as it is for these new dentists. Not only do they have the pandemic situation and those types of worries, but unprecedented debt loads, right? I mean, if you're graduating, the average dental student graduates with $247,000 in student loan debt, and that's the middle of the road. I mean, I personally have associates that have $650,000 to $700,000 in student loan debt.
How do you?
So the message is that the stakes have never been higher. So you have to become a more sophisticated dentist in a lot of different ways, right? You have to use and leverage that degree, unlike any generation has ever had to do. That means that you have to be financially very, very smart. And that means self-education, putting yourself in events like this, getting the right connections, networking. Although that might be uncomfortable for a lot of people, is absolutely necessary. The stakes are very, very high. So you have to seek out mentors. You have to seek out the right types of practices. You have to constantly fine-tune your clinical expertise, right? I mean, if you can place implants, you can do molar endo, you can do IV sedation, you can work well with kids. If you can expand your skill set to that degree, it doesn't matter what the economy looks like. You are going to be of value to the marketplace, and you will do well. And that student loan debt won't mean anything as long as you can be valuable to the marketplace. So constantly improving your clinical suite and being very, very sophisticated when it comes to personal finance.
But it's hard though, right? That kind of advice is hard to get because sometimes you just go to, you file your taxes with H&R Block. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
What kind of advice are you going to get H&R Block to be sophisticated about your finances?
That's right.
And that's why I think it's important to network, right? Have a peer group. Your group at Dental Success Network really, really brings that education, the clinical, the financial, and the other education into the mix. Tell us a little bit about what Dental Success Network does to help both dentists who are coming out of school as well as dentists who have been established but really want to find more meaning, more money, more independence, more fulfillment in their life.
Yeah, for sure. What a great question. Dental Success Network was conceived for this very reason, right? We wanted to put people in front of other like-minded, positive leaders in dentistry, right? So Dental Success Network has 20 plus faculty members, and they moderate different chat rooms inside of our private community. So we have an oral surgery room, a pediatric dentistry room, we have an IV sedation room, we have an implantology room, we have a root canal room, we have practice management, we have, taxation. We have anything you could think of to run a dental practice or to become a better clinical dentist is inside of this closed network. Plus, we have this huge bank, hundreds of hours of videos and continuing education. And then we have one of the largest buying groups in the world for a very small, monthly $200 per month. So the Dental Success Network is that, and it is for anybody that is a dental professional that has a dental license can take advantage of everything that we have there. The most valuable thing in there, though, is not necessarily the continuing education or what happens inside the chat rooms. It's the 1,000 positive, like-minded dentists, accountability partners, people that are very, very well connected. That's the true value and the true value proposition of this network of 1,000 dentists.
So if I'm a dentist and I join and I have questions about, oh my God, I'm not making enough money, or my case acceptance is 30%, or my hygienist, I'm getting my quitting every 3 months. Can they just come in and just post these questions within the groups?
Absolutely.
And then you're going to get people telling you, hey, I think you need to really start with a program that gets these hygienists in a condition where they can feel good about themselves, and whatever that might be, right?
Absolutely.
So there is that. So.
But it's different though, because we all have seen the free forums out there.
Right.
What's different is that people will post their opinions and people will give their advice, but we actually have experts in there that do this for a living full time. That if bad advice is given out in well-meaning but bad advice, that will come back around and the moderators will say, great feedback. Here's what I see, having done this for 20 years in the trenches, right? So in the free groups out there, a lot of times you'll get bad advice from somebody that's not a vetted professional, and you just never know what you're going to get. I see bad advice being exchanged all the time in those free forums, and nobody's paying attention.
What do you do? And it's a question that, what do you do to market yourself today to new patients? Like, how do you acquire new patients? Obviously you still run a great successful dental group, and you have no dearth of patients, which is amazing, obviously. But again, but because you're a celebrity in the space and people want to go to Mark Costas, that's great. But forget you, right? Because you're a unique person in the space. But I'm just a normal dentist, right?
Well, I will tell you that none of my patients care that I spoke at Dykema today.
That's right.
They don't care. None of my patients care that I have a dental-specific podcast. They don't care.
They don't care.
So I have to market just like everybody else, right? The number one thing in the world, of course, is customer care, customer service, patient experience is the number one thing. And then reputation, getting people to share their great experience that's basically free, right? 5-star Google reviews, reputation, patient care. Everybody has to have that. That's just tickets to the dance, right? Absolutely. And then if you're in a saturated area, you have to spend some money on external marketing in addition to that. So there has to be some mechanism where you're asking for reviews every single time somebody's in there. That's internal marketing. Right. But then you have to do your research. What is going to deliver ROI? I have 6 practices, 2 in California, 4 in Arizona, and each individual practice responds differently to different, marketing campaigns. For some practices, it works really, really well to have a billboard. For other practices, that doesn't help at all. For some practices, it's online stuff, or social media. For other practices, like some of my practices in more rural areas, it's print ads. It's different for everyone, but you have to be able. There's no one size fits all, but you have to be able to calculate what the return on investment is for every single marketing dollar that you send out into the world. That's really important.
Quick question: you're a big numbers guy, so my different standpoint. How do you ensure the production per hour is optimized for a doctor as well as a hygienist? Average today is $250 an hour. What a doctor produces.
That's crazy.
I don't understand how, but it's the average, right? How do you get them to produce like 4-digit per hour.
Yeah.
What's the secret? Is it scheduling appropriately, smartly?
Okay, I could talk about this for 8
for
hours,
it.
but I'll give you
Give
my
me the top things.
yeah, I'll give you the most important things to consider.
Okay.
And we've already talked a little bit about it, is making sure that you have a well-rounded clinical suite.
Sure.
Your offerings, to be able to keep as much stuff in-house as possible
Right.
is very, very important. But
Okay.
once you have those tools,
Right.
you have to be able to utilize those tools correctly, right? So
Right.
you have to have a very systemized, organized office. You have to have very, very educated schedulers up there, right? There has to be a template for maximizing the amount of production that's going to happen during that hour, right? So if you, we see this a lot. You walk into a practice, they're all running around with like chickens with their heads cut off.
Right.
The poor doctor is seeing 4 patients simultaneously plus 2 hygiene checks, and they're all, a single extraction, a single filling.
Absolutely.
Two posterior composites. It's like, and this poor doctor is exhausted at the end of the day, and he's done $3,000.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct.
And
Oh, yeah.
if you block schedule correctly and you say, all right, here's what we need to average per day, here's what we need to average per hour, here's exactly what that looks like. We're going to save different spots for higher production, procedures. That's very, very important. But then, in addition to that, you also have to have a very well-trained team
Communication-wise,
that can communicate and run a smooth kind of back office. That's really important too.
I mean, it's a very complex question. You answered it really, really well, because it's struggle, right? Right now, especially with capacity being a concern.
Yes.
You've got to make sure you're making the most. And making the most sometimes sounds bad, but you're also delivering the patient. If a patient needs more than an extraction, they need another crown, they need
Sure.
a root canal, you might as well get that done now.
Same day stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Every single one of our back office, that is something that they are not. I don't want to say required. They're encouraged to try to get at least 2 to 3 same day procedures every single day per chairside assistant in my practices.
But it has to start around communication, though, right?
Absolutely.
If you don't earn the trust of the patient, none of that matters. None
Exactly.
of that stuff is gonna.
And if you don't have
actually
systems in
earn.
place, that's just gonna drop a bomb on your
All you're doing is just busy running around.
That's right.
Operatory, and exactly right. And then we wonder why your same store's growth is the same.
Yeah.
Because you seem busy, but you're not profitable.
That's right. That's right.
Last question.
'Kay.
It has to do with hygiene.
Uh-huh.
How do we get hygienists inspired, motivated? Because hygienists are, I think, the backbone of a practice, and they spend a lot of time with patients. They have the most amount of influence. They build the most deep relationships
Yeah.
with patients.
Yeah.
And if you optimize hygienists and you give them the opportunity to shine, how do you get them? How do you get them excited? How do you get them to not only work on what they're doing from a production standpoint, but to really move them over into restorative?
Okay, so hygiene right now is a sore subject for a lot of dentists. It's
Right.
very, very difficult to find a qualified hygienist. Most of us are living off of, right now, just out of necessity, are living with temporary hygienists,
Okay.
because there is a very, very big shortage of hygienists, qualified hygienists in the workforce right now. But I will tell you that the ones that we do have, we have to kind of change our paradigm a little bit, right? They have to have a little bit more autonomy as far as the way that their schedule looks,
Right.
but they have to also understand the reality that this is a business and we can't have hygiene as a loss leader in the practice. It all starts with an understanding that if we are recommending treatment to the patient,
Right.
we have to do it in a way that encourages them
Right.
to do this treatment because we truly believe in our treatment plan.
Absolutely.
Because the patient, we have to believe that the patient is going to be better off, going
Right.
to be healthier if they take our recommendations. Therefore, we are morally obligated to
Right.
convince them
Right.
to proceed with treatment. They're going to be better off
Right.
as a human being for the health of their entire physical body
Absolutely.
if they take our advice. So with that in mind, you go into it not saying, ooh, God, this is going to cost him some money. Maybe I will downplay the importance of this
Right.
because I'm worried about whether or not they're going to say no because of the cost.
Right.
They have to truly believe from the bottom of their heart that they're going to be better off if they say yes.
So it is then the responsibility of the dentist
It's a moral obligation, I believe it.
to train and coach the hygienists.
Absolutely.
In saying and educate them on because I think with education, you're free, right? As long as you have the education around, and you believe that what you're going to recommend is actually going to improve their lives. But I think a lot of them don't believe that.
Yeah, it's true.
And it could be a combination of things, right? It could be a combination of their upbringing as childhood and where they came from.
Yeah, their views on money, exactly. It goes down to their overall belief about the value of things.
But how do you inspire your hygienists? What do you do that gets them excited about really having the right conversation with the patients?
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to just what we were talking about. It is their moral obligation. If you truly believe in dentistry, and you have to find the people that believe in it, right? If you don't want a bloody prophy practice, you don't want somebody that's just scraping plaque all day long. You want somebody that is, and it's not innate in everybody, and you can't turn somebody that is not passionate about it into somebody that's passionate about it necessarily, right? So you have to find the right people, and once you do find the right people, you have to, impart to them that it's really, really important for the patient's best interest to convince them in this. It is our moral obligation.
I think a lot of what I've heard you talk about, we talk about finances a lot, and yes, it's important, but at the end of the day, if you do right by the patient, the finances take care of themselves.
Sure, I agree. It's so true.
And I think that's where I think you've done a lot of work in that field, where you're getting these doctors to really believe in looking at the patient experience, looking at patient health as the number one priority. And once you believe that, and once you get your team buy-in,
everything else takes care of itself.
Everything is like, oh well, we produced. We don't have to worry about the $300 per hour. We are automatically producing, because if patient health is at the core of and we know the patient needs $3,000 worth of treatment, and all you're taking care of this is the one tooth because that's all you allocated, and you didn't schedule properly, you're not looking at our patient health.
Right.
And that's where the moral obligation comes in.
Absolutely.
Obviously, fun topic. We could talk about dentistry all day long.
All day.
But I wanted to. We've had done many podcasts together, but I really wanted to get you to talk about things that are actually concerning people today, because they don't have the answers, and it's really hard to find answers. There's a lot of noise on social media.
There is.
Everybody's saying all kinds of things, and sometimes it's the echo chambers that we hear. We hear the same things we want to hear, and we never hear somebody else.
Sure.
Mark Costas, I am delighted to call you my friend. I'm delighted to call you my client, and I'm delighted to learn and get inspired from you of what you've done in this industry. So thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, I always say, good things happen to good people. You're doing it right, buddy. That's why you've grown by so much, and you're really bringing a lot of value to our profession. So I thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great day.
Thanks.